Welcome to the Savage Coil Guide. Today, I'm going to try and show how to deal with Rafflesia in second coils turn 1, or T6S. Quick reminder, this is a guide, not a rule. If your team or party are struggling with or came up with better solution, feel free to ignore this guide. One thing to be aware before the fight is that the boss will clip periodically and give whoever get hit a phone stack. So a tank will need to tank swap every 2 stack. 3 is doable, but you're asking your healer to do more than necessary, which is why 2 is advised. The fight starts with main tank tanking the boss in the middle, and everyone else will stack behind the boss spot just like in Titan Extreme. I'll explain why later. After a few auto, the boss will start casting Blight Bouquet. This makes the same as normal where you need to stop moving including auto attacks. It is recommended that you shoot your weapon to avoid accidentally hitting the boss. Any movement during this will result in instant death, even for tanks. Next, 3 bulbs will spawn around the area. There are 9 possible locations that this bulb can spawn, just like in normal. This bulb will grow into a vine in a circle. Stepping inside the circle will give you a briar debuff, will slow your movement, deal damage over time, and prevent you from getting knocked back, which will be used for a later mechanic. An extra mechanic in Savage is if the bulb is too close to the boss, both the boss and the bulb will receive damage reduction. In addition to that, the bulb have higher health than normal, so it is not recommended to try and kill the center bulb due to how long it'll take to kill it. Instead, whenever a bulb spawn on the boss, main tank will have to move the boss where there's no bulb. Side note, be careful when you see the Mickey Mouse bulb pattern and move the boss to the outside to give more space for everyone to move around. After a bulb spawn, a terror mechanic will happen, with additional one person getting a yellow marker above their head. Same as normal, the yellow marker is the target for the boss to suck in. That person will need to run towards the bulb and get the briar debuff in order to avoid getting devoured. Keep in mind that it takes some time for the briar debuff to be applied, so if you get into the last second, you might still get sucked. Everyone else needs to run away from the yellow marker to avoid getting collateral damage. If you feel like you can't make it, feel free to pop your arm sling or surecast. If things goes well, there's only 2 devour that's going to happen in phase 1. Tether person needs to break their tether by running away from each other. The game calculates your original distance when the tether appear, and check if the distance is bigger than the original value plus 5 realm. This is why we stack in the beginning to break the tether easier. Another extra mechanic in Savage is the Devour after the suck. That is now 360 large AoE. Main tank will need to move away from the boss as the boss turns around towards the yellow marker to avoid getting eaten. The snapshot of the Devour is when boss starts sucking. So if you didn't run in time, you will still get devoured even if you already ran far away. Every time the boss eats someone, it'll gain 1 damage buff. 3 of these will be really hard on your healer and usually it'll result in a wipe. After the first Devour, the boss will spit and apply honey debuff to 1 DPS player. After the honey debuff applied, it'll spawn a hornet that will target the honeyed player. DPS the hornet as much as you can. During that, a pair of terror will be happening, followed by blood bouquet. Resolve these 2 mechanic first and kill the hornet after. If the hornet didn't get killed in time, it will use final sting and will one-shot players. Really important, if you use auto-face target settings, every time you cast something to someone, it'll keep setting your character forward factor even if you change target. The only way to break is to move. This is really important because sometimes when you attack the hornet, someone else might move the hornet accidentally and it will make your character rotate while bouquet is happening, causing you to die. Another tether with yellow marker will happen again, and now honey player will need to get devoured by the boss to remove the debuff, or more honey will keep spawning. Keep DPSing the boss and you should be at phase 2. Side note, it is possible to skip the second devour, and because we want the devour to happen to remove the honey debuff, make sure to hold DPS if this ever happens. Phase 2 will start at 65%. Big disclaimer, burn stress does not work in Savage, prompting everyone to do mechanic properly. Before the phase happens, tank will need to watch their debuff, and whoever have the lesser debuff should swap and start main tanking the boss for easier healing. The beginning of phase 2 is similar to normal version. The boss will start casting Leaf Storm that deal a small rate wide damage and will spawn 3 slugs. Often we need to grab all 3 slugs, and following that, the boss will cast Acid Rain. Everyone need to spread to make sure puddle is not close to each other. Those puddle will spawn 3 acidic honey. Now it's time for me to explain how slugs and honey works. If you don't want to hear nerd shit, skip to this timestamp. We'll start with honey. Every time someone damages the honey, it will retaliate and damage them back for almost half of your HP. Honey will also apply stack debuff and rate wide damage every 9 seconds. Once a stack becomes 10, it is a wipe. In order to avoid getting stacked to 10, we want the slug to eat the honey. Slugs will keep attacking the person on top of the aggro list until their HP decreases to 50%, which they will look for the closest honey and start walking to it and eat it. Keep in mind, the tank will not be able to provoke the slug while it's walking towards the honey. Once slug is close enough, it will eat the honey and deal rate-wide damage for each honey it eats. Slug can eat multiple honey at the same time, which causes a wipe. This is why we want to spread the puddle apart. So the way we deal with this is we want to lower 1 slime HP at a time. Designate 1 DPS player on the slug duty, that way it's easier to control the DPS. Once the slug eat the honey, that player will mark it and all DPS will focus on killing the slug. Repeat the process until all 3 slugs eat all the honey and you have done the mech properly. Side note, it is important for the off tank to only use AoE skill twice to grab the aggro and never hit the slug after for easier DPS control, or you will kill the slug accidentally before it can eat the honey. While the slug is happening, the boss will cast swarm on 1 person other than the main tank. That person will get 4 swarm stack, and each stack will deal damage and apply debuff for each stack. 2 debuff stack will kill most player who is not a tank without shield, but sometimes you can survive it with shield. In order to survive this stack need to be distributed to 4 other person. Keep in mind, we do not want to distribute the swarm stack to another person who already have the debuff. To resolve this mechanic, we follow T5 flat party stack. 2 party consists of 1 healer, 2 DPS will stand on bosses 5 and 7 o'clock. Tank will hover at 6 o'clock and wait for the swarm cast. When the boss finishes casting, tank will move to the party with stack to make 4 people stack. Last mech that will happen during phase 2 is tether and rotten stench. There will be 2 different kind of tether, the 4-1 tether and a square tether. One hero will also be marked with blue marker to indicate the target for the rotten stench. Rotten stench is a stack laser where damage is reduced depending on how many players is inside it. The way we resolve this is we assign clock spot, then we go to the middle and spread a little bit around the marker. This way we can see who is tethered to who easier. For the 4-1 marker, we have the center or root tether to go behind and everyone else move up toward the boss. The reason we stack in the middle is to give space for 2% to run towards the opposite direction to break the tether faster. For a square tether, after we spread in the middle, healer with the blue marker will go down and healer without will go up. The other 2% need to watch if they are tethered to the blue marker or not. If they are, they go north, if not, they go south in a line. This way we are still breaking the tether while stacking with the laser. Side note, you can also see the debuff icon when it is applied to tell who got the center or root tether. But from my experience, spreading a little works better. Bouquet, Devour, and Honey will not happen in phase 2, but Cleave still happen. Now that I explained the nitty-gritty of the mech, let me explain the timeline. After the boss casts Leaf Storm, start spreading a little bit. Whichever tank who is not tanking the boss will need to grab all the slugs by using the AoE skill twice. After that, boss will cast Acid Rain. Wait for the yellow puddle and dodge towards the back of the boss forming T5 flat party. Tank will be in between both party. One DPS who is assigned will start lowering one slug to 50%. During that, the boss will cast Swarm. If people are stacking properly, you can tell which party will get the Swarm stack by looking at where the boss is facing. Tank need to move to the stack on top of the Swarm party who have the stack. After stacks get to 50%, it will start moving to eat the honey and deal rate wide damage. It is very important for the DPS who is lowering the slug to make sure to hold DPS if Acidic Cloud timer is close to 5 or 6 seconds, since it will deal rate wide damage as well. Not doing so will leave the healer no time to heal in between. After the slug eat the honey, it will glow yellow and all DPS need to focus on burning that slug. After you kill the slug, move to the middle and spread and check if you are center or root tether. If yes, you go down, if not, you go up. Boss will shoot laser, but since we're already stuck in a line, it won't do any damage. Make sure to use AoE heal during this just in case. It is important after the laser happen that off tank swap with the main tank, because at this point, main tank will have 2 phone stack. Main tank will move beyond the boss and second swarm will happen while the DPS slug to lower another slug HP to 50%. After the swap, off tank will need to grab the slug from the previous off tank by using provoke and the range skills. Third swarm will happen shortly after while slug DPS lower the last slug to 50% and if the second super slug is dead. After the third swarm, go to the middle because second tether will happen shortly after. Depending on your DPS, third super slug might still be alive, but you guys can burn it in the middle or it will be dead shortly after. After waiting for second tether, resolve it by blue marker go down and other healer go up, while 2 other adjust depending if they are tethered to the blue marker or not. After resolving the second laser, the cycle will repeat from Leaf Storm. Repeat the step and you should be able to kill the boss around third laser. And congratulations, you cleared T6S! A small side note, you will not get LB3 in this fight due to how short the fight is. You can either use melee LB2 to kill the boss faster or tank LB2 during the laser to help you survive this laser solo. I hope this video helps and good luck on your proc raiders. This is my first time making a guide, so let me know if it helps and share your success story in the comment. I would love to read it. And feel free to subscribe if you want. If not, that's fine as well. And don't forget to have fun.